Hey everyone, my name is WyrmsEye and I welcome you back to the Battle Spot Factory, our VGC Battle Spot series, now in VGC 2018. So yesterday we started off our road on the Battle Spot Championship ladder with this Gardevoir plus Zappy Cat team, the brainchild of UK player Conan Wild. A link to his Twitter in the description below. I'm also going to link the QR code team that I am using for this team. Hopefully some of you will give it a go. Obviously I know that this is the 5th iteration of the team that Conan has put up, or certainly the 5th that he has used, and obviously it has got pedigree, winning a Japanese grassroots tournament back in the late summer, and obviously it has been used by multiple other YouTubers, Aaron Zeng among the most notable. But we do have our first opponent of the day, and they are running a team of Metagross, Arcanine, Landorus Form, Celesteela, Pelipper and Ludicolo. So as I said at the end of our first game yesterday, Rain is a particularly nasty core for us to work around, not least because the team just plain does not like it. In terms of Megas, Mega Metagross is certainly on the table. That's going to be a particular issue for our Gardevoir to properly set up. And obviously with the new speed mechanics coming in from Mega Evolution, Megas are going to outspeed our Landorus, and it very much could have an Ice Punch. So we've got to be playing this particularly carefully. As an opener, a very dangerous one as an opener, really. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go... I'm going to go Tapu Fini and Gardevoir again. I just feel like this is the best way to tackle this. Aegislash, and I need something to deal with those at the top. Celesteela could be an issue for me to deal with, not least because we don't have really a great deal of offense against it. We're foregoing the Incineroar, which would be the primary mode of tackling Celesteela with Flare Blitz. But the banded Landorus should do a fairly decent chunk to it, and if we can get the Tapu Fini really rolling, we should be in a decent position. But we do see that my opponent actually leads with their Metagross, so very likely we're going to see a turn 1 Mega Evolution from it. And what I'm going to do is I am going to protect with the Tapu Fini, and I'm going to switch in Gardevoir. I think we switch in the Aegislash here. Aegislash can take quite a fair bit of punishment from both my opponent's Pokemon. I'm expecting a Fake Out and a Meteor Mash probably into the Aegislash slots, to try and stop any potential Trick Room going up. But we shall see. So we are trying to mitigate any damage that we're actually dealt from this Ludicolo. We do see the Fake Out go into the Protect, and we do see the Metagross actually using Meteor Mash into the Aegislash. Still doing a decent amount of damage, but the attack rise is far, far from ideal. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch into Landorus, and I'm going to try and Z-move into the Metagross. I want it removed as best as I can. As we see that the Ludicolo withdraws in favour of the Pelipper. going to be setting up that drizzle ability for the Ludicolo later on in the game. We do withdraw our Tapu Fini in favour of the Landorus, so we will put the Metagross back down to neutral attack. We shall see what it tries to go for though. Does opt to protect here. Unfortunate, but not a terribly surprising move on its part. But we will get the Z move off, the never-ending nightmare from the Aegislash. So we will be doing still a sizable chunk to this Metagross here. I would assume around 30 to 40%, even through the Protect. Actually, just around half. So, pretty good move to have happen. Obviously, we still aren't in the total best position that we can be in. So we're going to switch in the Tapu Fini for the Landorus and going to King Shield here because we don't really want to take any damage that's necessary on our Pokemon. The Metagross now is in a particularly vulnerable state. If we can potentially get a good, if we can get the Trick Room off when we can, that will be brilliant. If we can trade for the Metagross for something, we will also be doing pretty good. We do see an Ice Punch come out, confirming that it does have it, and we also see a Scald into the Aegislash. So we're also trying to whistle away some Rain Turns. They have 3 left. So I think here our best play is to Muddy Water and to... Oh, we just seen Scald, haven't we? So... let's Shadow Ball into the Pelipper, I think. So the Metagross actually opting to Meteor Mash into the Tapu Fini. Doesn't quite get us down to our Berry. The Hurricane, so the double target does knock us out, unfortunately, which is a shame. Shadow Ball doing significant damage. We do get a special defense drop. And here we're going to just bring in Landorus, lower the attack stat of that Metagross, and it's been so long since I played Mega Metagross, I'm not sure of the calculations with regards to Ice Punch. I'm going to take a gamble here. I'm going to Rock Slide, and I am also going to Shadow Ball into the Metagross. We see the Pelipper withdraw here in favour of their own Landorus. Interesting play. Probably fearing an Earthquake, actually, if I'm guessing. So the Ice Punch does come out. Is into Landorus. Does survive. And we do see the Rock Slide does miss the Landorus, unfortunately, which is a shame, but we do get the Metagross regardless, and we remove that from play. Okay. So the rain is still up. At least one more turn. And we only have Gardevoir in the back, which we need to be somewhat mindful of. So we've locked into rock slide, so we've got a rock slide here. I am just going to King Shield with the Aegis Slash just to get some defense up. We also will get an idea of what Landris is likely to go for in terms of an attack. We haven't seen a Z move yet, which is potentially dangerous. Guessing the most likely is that the Ludicolo has the Z move. Do see the fake out onto the Landris. Doesn't quite knock it out. Posting Landris goes for a rock slide there. Okay. So I think our play here is if we trace Intimidate, that would be useful, but we trace Sven. Okay. We are going to try and Trick Room. We haven't seen the Z move, so we do have to be fairly careful here. There's Shadow Ball into the Ludicolo as well. So the Ludicolo withdraws. So, assuming that we can survive whatever the Landris throws at us, which with the bulky Gardevoir that we're running, we should be able to do. We should be okay. It all comes down to whether Rock Slide flinches, I fear. Or they have a Tectonic Rage. So there is the Z move of my opponent. Where's this going? This is into the... It's into the Aegis Slash. Okay, so Gardevoir is going to have to deal with this on its own, which is a shame really, because we could really have used the strength of Aegis Slash in the back. So it is going to be Hyper Voice, I fear, for the rest of the game. We will have to see what this Landris is capable of. It takes it 2 shots. Chooses to Earthquake. Just over half. It's just the Ludicolo wins now. The Landris isn't so much a problem, it's the Ludicolo now that proves to be the biggest issue. We will protect this turn to give the best opportunity for us to at least knock out the Landris. But if the Ludicolo is Assault Vested, which very likely could be, the game is locked out, because anything that the Ludicolo can do is going to do significant enough damage to Gardevoir in the rain to knock it out. So we should be taking a loss here. Mind you, Landris hasn't shown Protect either, which is a bit odd. That did sizable damage to the Ludicolo, but again, and that's dangerous using Hydro Pump there. If that had missed, we could have won the game there, but we have lost. And again, rain is a difficult matchup for this team. We did a lot better than we did in yesterday's episode in trying to get around it. I certainly feel that we were in a much better position generally. Aside from the Tectonic Rage coming out from the Landris Furion form, if the Aegis Slash had survived that turn, we could have very likely snatched a win from there. But yeah, this team really does not like rain, and unfortunately I think at the beginning of the season, weather, especially rain in general, is going to be a particularly particularly nasty piece of work to deal with. And it is showing. We find a Japanese opponent, 1474, with a team of... So this looks closer to a VGC18 team than an 18. So, Salamence, Incineroar, Pheromosa, Tapu Lele, Celesteela, and Tapu Bulu. The only minor difference that could be brought out is the Salamence could be a Mega Salamence instead. So something to be mindful of. But apart from that... yeah, not too much of a difference. Tapu Bulu could be a little bit of a pain in the arse here. It all depends how they lead, really. If you lead Aegislash, what does that necessarily get stopped by? So let's lead Aegislash. I want to kind of threaten Trick Room if I can. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So, I chose Landorus and Tapu Fini as my last remaining Pokemon on this squad of 4. Again, Celesteela could be an issue, as we see Incineroar, Pheromosa, and we do see one of these shiny Pheromosas with the little black number, as I like to call it. So a very nice colour scheme, really, but the fake out pressure is very much a very present danger. So Gardevoir is going to have to protect here, and I am just going to Shadow Ball into the Pheromosa to... Is there any... No, there's no reason not to Mega Evolve and Protect. At least the bulk will give us a bit more in the way of staying power later on in the match. So we will Mega Evolve here. Again, Trace is a bit of an odd ability. It sometimes can come in useful to not Mega Evolve at the beginning, but I think here I'm going to need the bulk anyway at some point. So you see a U-turn from the Pheromosa into the Gardevoir. We see that our Aegislash is faster than their Incineroar, which could mean that we might be losing our Aegislash right off the bat. So it's a very slow Incineroar, and we do see a Darkest Lariat into the Gardevoir. Okay. So good opening turn for us. The Pheromosa not sashed. Possibly carrying a Z move then. So we see Celesteela. Not the shiny variant, unfortunately, but that's to be somewhat expected. And I think here what we're going to do is we've got to be very careful whatever we do. I think here we just go for the never-ending nightmare onto the Celesteela slots. And what we will do is we'll switch Gardevoir out for the Landorus. Try to intimidate. Oh, the match was even forfeited. Wow, my opponent really didn't want to go on from there. So, obviously assuming that I was probably going to Trick Room in the first turn with the Gardevoir, which doesn't seem like the most sensible option, because the Fake Out was just so much of a big threat. I didn't want Gardevoir to be targeted by Fake Out plus, say for instance, a Poison Jab or anything like that from the Pheromosa. So, bit of a shame that they didn't play that out, because by no means had they lost that, and we never had won that either. First turn went well, but it could all go downhill very easily from there. So we will try and find one more game for today. We'll go with the Elite Four theme. So we're 2 for 2. Hopefully we can now get into a positive win for the first time ever on this VGC18 ladder and get into the 1500s once again. So an opponent from Japan, rating of 1482. And we see a team of, and this is where nobody really knows the pronunciation. I'm pronouncing it Naganadel, Landrosphere form, Heatran, Tapu Fini, Kangaskhan and Celesteela. So Chalk plus Naganadel. And this thing could be very interesting to deal with, being a poison dragon type. Does give it some decent ability to deal with my team, and given that it's a special attacker and fast as well, we have got a lot to deal with. So Kangaskhan also a big problem for this team, potentially. I think the safest lead is Landorus and Incineroar. And then from there, I'm kind of stumped. Zapdos could be useful. Gardevoir doesn't feel as useful against this team as I would like, but that's not to say that it couldn't be. I feel like Aegislash is the best play here, so we'll go with Aegislash as the 4th. Interesting. Oh, so that's the Lurantis design for women's. I haven't seen all of the female clothing options, so I've heard of this Lurantis style that is the counterpart to the male's Komodo style. It's actually kind of pretty, but not sure. So leading off with Landorus and Incineroar, we see that my opponent leads off with the Celesteela and Landorus Sphere form of their own. We also see that my Landorus is, at the very least, as fast, if not faster than theirs, so could suggest that it is the Assault Vest variant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to U-turn into the Cresselia. What really makes the most sense? Probably Zapdos, actually, I think. Yeah. So, we're actually going to withdraw Incineroar. I don't expect the Cresselia to have Protect on it. If it does, bloomin' hell. So we do get the U-turn off. Decent damage to the Cresselia, all things considered, even through the Intimidate. And that gives us the opportunity to bring back in our Incineroar for the next turn. So Incineroar opts to go for the Tectonic Rage. That should be into the old Incineroar slot, so that should be going for the Zapdos, I'm hoping. Yes! And the Cresselia opts to Icy Wind there. So small chip damage onto the Zapdos, not too much onto the Incineroar either. And that gives us, I feel, a decent opportunity to go Fake Out into the Cresselia, and we can Tailwind as well, I think, for Zapdos. The only thing that we have to fear is a Rock Slide Flinch from the Landorus onto our Zapdos. That's the only way that this will fail, as the Landorus actually chooses to Earthquake here, which I think is really questionable. Incineroar taking that oh so well. We do get our Tailwind up. So we can now choose to Darkus Lariat the Cresselia, and I am going to Hidden Power into the Landorus. Should be picking up the knockout here. Obviously this Crusader could have Trick Room, but it's choosing to switch out, so Darkest Lariat into the Heat Ran, not a big deal. We know it's not Assault Vested, so this should do reasonable damage to Landorus. It does. Chooses to Rock Slide instead. Incineroar hangs on there. And we do get our Darkest Lariat off as well. Decent damage, decent damage. Okay. Incineroar could be useful elsewhere, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch in the Landorus here now, and I don't think their Landorus has enough firepower to knock out our Zapdos, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to Gigavolt Havoc into the Heatran. We're going to get that knockout straight away because I don't really want to deal with it. I'm hoping their Landorus will protect, knowing that we've now got hidden power. And it is at -2 as well, which is very useful. We do see a protect. That's brilliant. Which should mean that the Heatran will be going down this turn. Nice. So we will see the Electrium Z on the Zapdos. We will be getting a Gigavolt Havoc into this Heatran. We should be knocking it out. Whew. He's playing this one really well now, so we're kind of getting into the stride of things, and we do not knock out the Heatran. Zapdos takes a critical hit. Barely. Barely. I don't know what the speed tiers are for this thing. Zapdos has taken an icy win, so 132 to 135. It's been icy winded once. So we can actually just Rock Slide here. And oh, we don't even have Roost. Okay, that's fine. So one of his previous variants actually had Roost on his Zapdos, which is fair enough. So I was expecting it to have Roost. We do get the Rock Slide off. We will be hitting both the Landorus and the Tapu Fini. Decent damage on both. And we do get the hidden power off into the Fini, not doing terrific damage. We might have to readjust our ball position once again. So Crest coming back out. So I think if we switch Landorus into Aegislash, if we then switch Incineroar into that slot, we should be taking that. Okay, let's see. My guess is the Cresselia will use Icy Wind. We do see a Dazzling Gleam come out from the Tapu Fini. Does knock out the Incineroar, not doing too much damage to... Ah, it's Trick Rooming. Okay, that's not too bad. I can live with that. Okay. So I still don't exactly know how fast this Tapu Fini is. choice withdrawing Tapu Fini. That's a mistake. Sorry, I'm having to think about this one because the way that the Trick Room has been turned on me, I'm not 100% sure of the speed tiers, but Aegislash is still slower than their Cresselia, which is really good to see. Significant damage. We pick up the knockout on Cresselia, and we are going to get a very healthy Rock Slide off onto the Heatran, knocking that out, and we're now down to 3 versus 1. So we can now play a little bit more defensively. We just got to stall out this Trick Room for a couple more turns at most. Get the King Shield up. We're not too worried about what the Landorus does now. As long as it can get anything done, we're in a good position. So the Trick Room should... no, not the Trick Room. The King Shield should give us enough defense on the next turn round to really tackle this Tapu Fini. I will just need to check the turns of Trick Room just to make sure that I'm counting this correctly. Flash Cannon into the Fini and protect with the Zapdos. Just want to see what this Fini is actually going for. If it's still going for Muddy Water, I think we can Wide Guard next turn. Assuming that our Aegislash actually survives. Didn't think about that. Aegislash actually avoids. That's King Shield. I'm King Shielding because I think Aegislash is the best option to actually really deal with this. Should really have Wide Guarded there, but I'm just paranoid that it's bluffing a Scarf or a Specs or something like that. I'm hoping it's bluffing a Scarf. It looks like it's bluffing Specs. So yeah, Wide Guard was the correct move there. And we didn't really think about that. So we are going to Flash Cannon into the Tapu Fini. Please no accuracy drop. That's all I ask. No accuracy drop. No accuracy drop. So didn't play that last few turns as well as I should have done. Should have assumed a lot earlier and made the call that it was actually just a Specs variant rather than a out and out potentially had something else that it was going to use as an attack. But we do clutch out the win. So I think played the first few turns very well, but the follow-up wasn't particularly strong in the end game. It was a bit messy, a bit could have gone a heck of a lot worse from our side. So something that we will have to bear in mind going forward. The end games need to be tightened up by us. We are slowly getting a grip on what we bring and how we're using this team, but I think we're going to call it an episode there, guys. So, as always, we'll have another episode tomorrow of the Battle Spot Factory, where we'll be continuing on with this team. Like, comment and subscribe if you like the content, want to support the channel in any way. And hopefully I shall see you again tomorrow on the Battle Spot Factory. But until then, goodbye for now.